Part 1, Chapter 4 Introductions Out of the Way. I had faced down entire griffin battalions less intimidating than the small unicorn filly glaring at me from across the dining room table. It was a withering stare that cut into the very fibre of my being. "So, you must be Dinky. Your mother has told me all about you on the way over," I ventured, struggling to keep my composure. It was hard enough to appear regal and aloof, with my head stooped low to avoid bumping the ceiling of the humble dwelling. A punishing silence followed, broken only by the clinking of crockery as Ditzy prepared lunch for us in the other room.
"Did she?"
came the scathing and rhetorical reply. I flinched visibly as the filly finally spoke. Yes, she said you were a wonderful young filly who tried very hard at school," I stammered, sending a desperate and hopeful glance at the kitchen door. "Please come back, Ditzy."
"Do you know how many days a week my mom gets to take off?"
asked Dinky, her gaze unfaltering. "No," I squeaked. "Come on, she's just a foal. You need to get a grip."
Just one day a week to spend with me. Do you know which day of the week she gets to take off?"
The filly narrowed her eyes, leaning forward on the table. She should get a cutie mark in interrogating criminals. This was grueling. "Today?" I quaked internally.
"That's right."
The filly banged her hoof on the table to punctuate her point.
"But instead of spending it with me, what's my mom doing right now?"
Making lunch for me." I bit my lip.
"Making lunch for you. You! Princess of all of Equestria, who has a whole bunch of ponies to make lunch for her every day. Who could eat lunch absolutely anywhere she wanted with any pony she wanted, but chose to eat lunch here, in my house."
I couldn't make eye contact with her. Was this what my subjects felt in my presence, perhaps? The shame! What a golden opportunity! Certainly this was awkward and embarrassing, but what was it I wanted from my subjects? What was it this filly wants from me? To debase myself and make tearful apologies? Certainly not. I cleared my throat. "Tell me, Dinky, if you were in my place, and it was you who was ruler of Equestria, able to eat lunch wherever you wanted, with whoever you wanted, where would you eat lunch?"
"Here with my mom."
Dinky did not hesitate for a second. "May I hazard a guess as to why?" Dinky nodded. "I believe that your mom is a very, very special pony. A pony who always makes time for the ponies she cares about. A pony who would never let you down. A pony who loves you very much." The filly's gaze finally softened, and I was able to rebuild some semblance of my usual royal facade. "Is it truly surprising to you that I would want to have lunch here, given that this is the location you would choose if you were in my place? I wish I was able to properly straighten my head, but I wouldn't want to puncture the ceiling with my horn. I think your mother is a very special pony too, and I hope that you'll be generous enough to share her with me, just this once." Dinky pondered this for a moment, weighing my words. Finally, she stood up and trotted over to me. She wriggled in between the table and myself, setting herself between my forelegs and leaning back against my chest.
"Yeah, I guess you're all right. Don't be such a phony and I'll be your friend."
I peered down at the small filly now seated beneath me. Her anger seemed to have rapidly subsided. "Phony?"
"That fake talk thing you do when you came in here. Ooh, what a lovely home you have. My, what a delightful daughter. I can't thank you enough. You know, that phony speak. Don't do any of that, and you and I will get along fine, 'kay?"
The young filly had done an excellent job at mimicking my practiced and deliberately formal way of speaking. I had always thought of it as princess speak, but I suppose phony speak would be just as adequate. "Very well. Okay, I'll try." I caught myself putting on a fake smile and wiped it off my face. No facades. I felt a real smile form as Ditzy danced into the room, balancing a tray of sandwiches on her head.
"Mom, Careful now, just take it slowly. Nice and slow.
I felt Dinky tense up.
I got this.
Ditzy tripped over nothing, apparently, just as she spoke those words. She stumbled violently to the left, and then lurched back to the right, her wings flapping frantically. My magic enveloped her, gently lifting the Pegasus and placing her next to us, and the sandwiches carefully on the table before us.
Heck yeah! Go, princess!
Dinky nudged me in the chest affectionately. You are more than welcome, my little pony, said the phony voice in my head. Instead, I laughed haughtily and said, And now that I've used my magic to save our lunch, I will use it to hog it and eat more than every pony else as well. I telekinetically swiped a sandwich and stuffed it into my mouth in a manner most unbefitting of a princess.
Hey, I got magic too, you know.
Dinky concentrated hard, and one of the sandwiches lifted and trembled its way through the air to her mouth.
No fair!
Ditzy scrambled over to the table and chased after the floating sandwiches. There were no words to describe how much I enjoyed that lunch. I have eaten lunch with famous comedians and not laughed so hard. I have eaten lunch made by world-famous chefs that did not taste as good. I have eaten on the brink of active volcanoes and not felt such warmth. I spent far longer there than I intended to. Ultimately, Dinky had to damn near shove me out the door when my stalling tactics ran out. It was already evening by the time I finally set out to leave.
I hope we can see each other a bit more,
grinned Ditzy as I stepped out into the dusk. I'm certain that we will. I'll make sure of that, I thought to myself.
Are you going back to the castle?
Not just yet. There's something I need to do first. Well, that took longer than expected. Spike dumped his backpack into the library floor, and then immediately picked it up after Twilight shot a meaningful glance his way. At least the bridge is safe for use now. Take the books upstairs. You know where the equestrian architecture and structural engineering sections are, right? Smiled Twilight as I stepped out from my hiding place and crept up behind her. Hello, Twilight. I thought I'd pop by and see you. To be continued.